Well, it was a matter of, yes, he originally approached me to come on board, but I just have that was, I didn't want to leave town for 6 months because I had a young daughter, and I had known Doug's father, and it made sense for me to do the movie, but I just, there were too many things going on here, so I had passed. 6 months later, the producer that they had hired had to leave because his family had an emergency at home. His wife's having a baby, and he had to go back. So they were sort of thrown into the lurch, and they called me back. And Doug had said, well, see if you could get Frank. And they called me, and they said, look, you want to go live in Paris for 6 months, 6 weeks, and then take Christmas off, and then come back to Prague? I said, that I can do. So I brought the family over for Christmas, and it really worked out great. And then I've continued on with the franchise, I hope.
So when you came into the picture, how closely did the script resemble the final product? I mean, how much and how much was still being rewritten and shifted?
Well, there's one big difference, and that is the farmhouse sequence was not in the script that I first got. It was it took place in a subway or something, I can't remember, in the center of Paris. And it was really Doug and Matt. Really, there had been a sequence that Tony Gilroy had written in a script before that took place in the farmhouse, and it made a lot of sense because Bourne was a hero in the farmhouse sequence. And the sequence that we had in the script that there was a lot of last-minute writing going on, and they were shooting and everything, and everybody was off in Italy doing the Italian part, and I was sitting there in Paris, and I had read this huge sequence in the subway that they're going to have to build. And then it got changed to another sort of battle with the Clive Owen character through a market in Paris. And the same narrative was going on, but Bourne was running. And that is what Matt and Doug felt was wrong with the scene. And I come from the school that there's a point where you got to go, okay, that's what we're doing, and then you go forward. And so I was going, okay, we got to find this location. And Doug didn't like this and didn't like this. And finally, we got to kind of a crisis point where if we didn't have a location, we'd have to stop shooting, and that's not good. So I sat them down and I said, guys, what are we doing here? And they said, well, he's not a hero. He was a hero in that you got to read the farmhouse scene. So we sent to the office or something and found this script that was like 2 scripts removed. And I read it and I instantly understood what they were talking about, that Bourne was a hero in the farmhouse scene and he wasn't a hero in what we were about to do. And that was really important to them. And so we had already started shooting the chase, the foot chase in Paris. So I called Pat Crowley, who was the line producer, and I said, can we move some things around? And we moved some stuff up, and we sent somebody to Prague, and we said, find a French farmhouse that looks, like it's the French countryside, and it has some snow around it. And sure enough, we did, and we moved that whole sequence there, and I think it was absolutely the right thing to do from a creative standpoint. I mean, we could have shot the other one, and would have probably worked okay. And he said goodbye to Franca in the train station instead of outside, and it all would have been okay. But this was better for the movie.
There are a lot of different kinds of producers in this business, as you know. There are some people that they're just the money people. There are other people that are really actively, creatively hands-on in developing the material, and you obviously fall in that latter category. So what is it that you look for as a producer who also directs from time to time, in developing and looking for and developing material?
It's going to sound kind of silly, but a good story. A story that really I can get passionate about. You come to work you're shooting 15, 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. You got to really love what you're doing, and you got to really believe in that story that you're trying to tell. And you know, I'll just use a perfect example: Seabiscuit. You know, what a great story. Read it as a newspaper or as a magazine article. Gary Ross read this. The book hadn't been written yet. He optioned a magazine article. And when the book was written, he came to us and said, "Look, we're all at Universal. I want to make this. I want to direct it. I need good producers. You know, you want to do this." And you read that book, you go, "This is an incredible story." That if somebody had written this script and came in with it, you'd say, "No, this could never happen." You know, so those are the kind of stories that really, you know, kind of ordinary people in extraordinary situations. And I don't look at movies like, this is going to be a great action movie. I mean, the story had to be good. And that's another thing we really focused on in both these movies, is that the action had to come out of the storytelling. It wasn't action for action's sake. You know, if you look at both movies, there's one explosion in both movies. Just one. And it's a real explosion. It's not a CG explosion. So I look for that story that roots the rest of the movie.